Hey guys, welcome one, welcome all, as we are back for the fourth and final time on this Gengar PC build. It's been a long haul, but we are finally in the home stretch. Today is a wrap-up day, so don't expect too much. That being said, we're still going to install some fun little Gengar figurines. It wasn't nearly as much as I wanted to do originally, but our case kind of screwed us in the long run, and I'll show you why later. However, this being the holiday season, a lot of what we were going to have today is either still stuck in customs or taking its sweet time. I wish we did have it so that we could do more and I could show you more, but considering the constraints of trying to keep a schedule, it just didn't allow for it. So, with that caveat out of the way, follow me as we put the finishing touches on our Gengar build and get this machine rolling. First things first, let's get what didn't work out of the way. Remember when I said before that I wasn't too fond of this case? I'd say I love the overall design, but future me would have a bone to pick with that. You see this screw hole? Well, this is placed right above a gaping hole in the floor that swallows up all the screws. It wouldn't be so bad except for the fact that they drop into things like fans and have to be fished out from the bottom every single stinking time. Well, the main reason why was because I wanted to paint it. I got the paint, the stencil, and did a fair bit of research into effects that I could create on the sides. The problem was the panels themselves. Do you see the tiny little mesh behind each slat in the panel? Well, that mesh isn't removable. If we pull the panel off and flip it over, we can see along the entire frame that the mesh and the panel are all one unit. Why? I have no idea, but at this price, removable filter panels should not be a luxury. They even did it on the back of the case as well. When I saw this, I threw in the towel. It was not worth the hassle for something that I might just botch. Another thing that didn't necessarily work for me was the new fan. Sure, it's a cute little guy, and I don't see any reason to knock Noctua on this one. I mean, look at these little vibration pads that it comes with. They offer plenty of colors for any build. And it's not that the fan didn't work per se. It would have solved the problem of it feeling too close to the glass. But that was also a personal preference. By the time I had pulled out the original fan and put the new one up to the cooler, I realized that it didn't look right either. Now I know aesthetics are not a good reason for making a decision. But when I realized that zip ties would be the only way this fan would go on, I thought, yep, quit while you're ahead. But with those things out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. Finally, a Gengar! But we can't have just one, so I got him a friend to play with. The package wound up being destroyed on the trip from China, but fortunately, our ghost Pokemon made it alive in one piece. Plastic casing really saved it, because there are sections of this figure that are actually really weak. Well, would you look at that? I've always preferred the look of Haunter myself, but the overall design of this figure is rather impressive. Let's get him installed into the case. Oh, and his little brother too. The first thing we're going to do is take off the front panel. We're going to stick our new toy front and center inside of the case. He is large enough that he should fill out the case nicely without being too portly as to get in the way of a longer graphics card later. And now we're going to add some stickies to the base. This should keep our Gengar from evaporating out of the case. And just like that, he's all set. I think he looks pretty darn sweet in this case. Now we're going to finish out the front of the case by closing it up and removing the plastic wrap. But what about our little Gengar? Where do you think his home should be? Well, since he is an ornament, I think we should be able to repurpose him as such. I figure some fishing line and ingenuity should get him to float in the air. Removing the top panel, we can see that we have these empty fan slots that we can work with. We will just slide our Gengar down into the case and fish our line through a couple of these holes to get him to stay. And once he is in, does he ever fly like a firecracker? Fortunately, PCs don't get thrown around as much as Gengar spins about here, so this should work fine. Once he has settled down, it's time to finish out our side panel. After popping the glass back in, we'll remove our plastic wrap. Then, we will take off this warning sticker to place a sticker of our own. What sticker, you ask? Well, I figured that if we couldn't paint the case, we could at least add something to give it a bit more character. Here we go! One Gengar evolution sticker for fun. I know it's not painting a case levels of cool, but it will add just a bit more personality to this build. And now to affix it to the glass. I'm going to be placing it in the lower left hand corner so that we don't block any of the Gengar toys or the RGB lighting. But if you've never placed a transfer before, let me show you how it's done. First, you want to make sure that the transfer is firmly stuck to the surface that you are mounting it on. Grab a spatula, paste applicator, credit card, or any other flat object and scrape it firmly over the surface of your transfer. Once that is done, slowly peel off the backer. As someone who worked with a horrible amount of adhesive rolls in very large sizes at a frame shop, my technique for this one sticker may look like a bit of overkill. Realistically, you should be able to pull this off and relatively quickly without a problem. However, if the sticker still wants to stick to the transfer, it's not that big of a deal. Simply press the transfer back onto the glass, reapply the sticker with your tool, and keep going. Again, I'm taking my sweet time here, but it pays off without an incident. Now that it's on, it's time to get the display to work. I'm including this particular section because I almost never see anyone talk about multiple displays, and I figured that you might like to know. The first thing we are going to do is head to our display settings. We want to make sure that both displays are showing up here. If you don't know which is which, there is an identify button that gives you a graphic that corresponds to each display. Scrolling down here, we also want to make sure that the settings are right for each display. Under multiple displays, we want to make sure extend these displays is selected. Otherwise, we will either see only one of the screens or both screens will display the same. Once we have checked our settings, it's time to move on to our options for multi-screen displays. I'm going to close out a wallpaper engine here to show you the first option. Multi-wall is a limited but free application that makes it easy to have multiple displays. Simply click on the display that you want to change the wallpaper on and choose which image to place in the dialog box. Make sure that your display is set to individual rather than all. Otherwise, it will act like Windows' duplicate feature. So, let's grab a background to demonstrate. We are going to click our display, click Browse, grab our new background, and click Open. This will show you a preview, however. Hit Apply to place it as your background. If you want your background to stay the same for every startup, check the Run at Startup box at the bottom of the window. That's basically multi-wall, and it's pretty decent if you're in a pinch. Now here's the rub with multi-wall. It sits pretty darn low on the pecking order when it comes to applications. If we were to fire up Wallpaper Engine, for example, it gets immediately overridden and we are back to our sheep from the beginning. Luckily, it seems to only override our main screen, but it will conflict with multi-wall. Another program that will also mess with it is NVIDIA settings. So, if you do use these programs, you will need to finagle them a bit to get them to play nicely with each other. Another little annoying thing was the taskbar displaying on the LCD screen. If you want to remove that, right-click on the taskbar, go to Settings, and scroll down until you see multiple displays. Make sure that the setting is off, and you should be good. Despite the setbacks and delays, I had a really fun time building this PC. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have looked for a different case and a smaller cooler. But I like the idea of doing a themed build, and I'll probably do it again. Thanks for joining me on this quest. I'm sure that I made plenty of mistakes along the way, and I'm sure that you'll leave a comment about them. But it was quite fun to do. I cannot wait to see how my friend reacts and what upgrades he throws into it next. As for Tech Tuesday, I'm not sure what we're doing next. I might even take a hiatus for a week, we'll see. However, if you like what you see, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. God bless.